One day I'm gonna figure it out. And maybe these videos, I'm hoping these videos really be something that like I can look back on and see how much growth there was, right? Because we don't really do that a whole lot of time. I I got the idea from what's his name? It was like Alex Hermosi, right? Big business guy, if you don't know him, but big business guy. And he said something that was like, he wanted to become a billionaire and document the process, right? So he puts out a lot of business content and yada yada yada. He was like, but it's to go back and like see where it all started, right? And I'm like, that's amazing. Like I think we should all do that, especially in this day and age. Like, how cool would that be? To just go see, to go build something, right? Go. I think a lot of people don't have, I don't know, the courage, the conviction, to do that, right? To say, to say this is where I'm going. Now watch me build it. My problem is I don't know where I'm going, and I feel like I'm just kind of vibing, right? Like I'm going to the gym, I'm doing my stuff, I'm working on me, journaling, going to therapy, doing all the shit that like, you know, I hope I don't release this too soon. But I'm sitting there at work and I'm literally like, I'm deep in my head about, some shit that happened in the past, right? And it was more like, where did I go wrong? Not to fix shit, not to do any of that, but to understand, you know, I don't want to make the same mistakes twice. And yeah, like that's kind of the basis of what happened. And but like I'm sitting at work, right? Like this is me. Like I was supposed to sign in at 8 a.m. and it's probably like 12 at this point by the time I'm like, I should probably do something, but I got like another question. I got another thing to look up. I got another thing to research. You know what I mean? Like how does this affect this? And like how does, you know what I mean? How does, I don't know, this childhood wound affect this in your adult life? Or how does this, trait in your adult life manifest, or backwards? How does this trait that I see as an adult, where did that come from, right? And vice versa, just like how does this manifest itself in that kid? And like these are the questions that like I want to answer, right? And it takes a long time. Also, horribly misaligned to my job. I mean, it's actually kind of comical right now. I feel like for a long time, I don't know how to describe this in a correct way, but for a long time, like there was some kind of like emotional suppressant that was going on in my soul, in my being, in my head, where I was connecting to things with a logical reason, but not an emotional reason, right? Like I'll just use this as a basic example. It's like I get this job because it's a good job. It pays well. It gets me to live to where I want to live. It gets me all the things that I want to get, right? Forgetting the whole part about alignment with values and what you're trying to do and where you're trying to go in life. It checked all like the big boxes, right? Like, you make enough money. Again, live where you want to live. You have this sense of I don't want to call it achievement, but like you security maybe. Like the I would logic my way to a position of security when this might not be where I needed to be in the long run. And that's fine. And I think that's, probably the struggle of your 20s, if we're going to be honest, like your whole 20s, is because you want to pick somewhere that you can be, but you also want to pick somewhere where you can grow as well. Um, and you don't really know a lot coming out of school, is what I found. Unless you do like engineering or what. Actually, you don't know a shit anyway. At any point, uh, coming out of school, unless you do a lot of side projects, you do a lot of work uh, for yourself, right? Like you have really good guidance, which a lot of people don't. But I got this job because somebody told me it was hard. So of course I applied for the job. Like that's just who I am. I figured, right? It checks all the boxes. I didn't know that it would be misaligned, and yeah. So now we're just trying to figure that out. Figure out what the next steps are. Um, I think I know. I think I don't know. Might be taking a GMAT to figure out if I can go to business school. Um, Maybe. But then again, I don't really know. I mean, I'm studying for it. I'm gonna study for it regardless because I just see the study of it as like a mental challenge that like I want to go through. Um, I've done a lot of physical challenges. You know what I mean? Lift a good amount of weight. Did a marathon, and now I think it's time for like the mental challenge, which is healing all your fucking trauma and um, healing all your trauma and doing some actual like intellectual like endurance kind of vibe, which again studying for like something like the GMAT, like not just the test alone will be it, but like the process of studying for it, right? Like you can't just run a marathon because you decide to run a marathon. It just doesn't work like that. So that's why I chose to do it. But I'm hoping and having faith that I'm gonna continue to move in the right direction, and you know, God wills it, right? If he doesn't, I'm sure he's gonna show me another path. I almost guarantee I will not be stuck on this path for a long time. If I am, that'll be bad, but I don't know. We're not gonna think like that. We're gonna figure it out. Um, so yeah, that's where we are. Certain things about this YouTube stuff, right? Like, what am I gonna talk about? For how long? How's it gonna be edited? Do I need to have some kind of branding, or do I just start? Yeah, hopefully I edit these kind of videos and put them together in a way that like I feel like can be released to the public. And yeah, maybe this is the start of something new, potentially. It's like kind of like what do you have to lose, right? You have nothing to lose and everything to gain. Why not do it? Why not go all in? Why not be great at something? Not that YouTube you could be great at, but this journey that I'm going on, mentally, physically, there'll be a lot of things to talk about, a lot of things to dissect, a lot of moments of reflection that I think will be useful to at least somebody. And yeah, I'm ready. It feels weird. Yeah, because like I never wanted to be the talking head on YouTube. Never wanted any of that. For most of my life, I didn't want the attention. I got attention, right? Because like that's just how life works sometimes, right? Never really wanted it, never really sought it out. But now I feel like as long as I can help somebody, then it was all worth it, right? I think a lot of us, like, we have a lot to learn from each other, and we don't realize it. And I think one of the purposes of living and being human is to help other people up. And so one way you can do that is by telling your story, right? Whether it be writing a book or, you know, putting it on YouTube and letting the algorithm do its thing and get to who it needs to get to hear the message that they need to hear. So that's what we do it for. But in this process, it will be, you know, in this process, there would be a lot of deconstructing the mental barriers that I put on myself. Say like fear of evaluation, fear of rejection, fear of whatever, right? Whatever I was dealing with. Right, but there's a certain point where you come to where you realize that half the things you're afraid of don't make any sense, like at all. I feel like at 25 right now, like this is a moment of enlightenment, right? Because and better for worse, this means nothing. It's just a game that we all play. Like that could sound really bad, where you can realize you can go play the best game there is to play, right? I've been fortunate in some areas of my life, and I've been unfortunate in others, right? The fact that I had, chronic anxiety for 10 years plus, right? Ended up in damn, getting deep. Ended up in a mental facility, right, for depression. Diagnosed with major depressive disorder, right, because I tried to take my own life. Just heavy things that, I've been through. And I feel like if I can provide an encouraging word, say something that might save somebody's life, it doesn't really matter about if you feel embarrassed or, you know what I mean, or this or that, right? If you save one life, all of that's worth it, right? If you say something that changes somebody's life forever, just on how, for an example, right? Like Theo Vaughn said something where, have probably been reiterated 800 billion times by different people, but it really hit home to me when he said, nothing changes if nothing changes. And for whatever reason, right, it's something that has like been resaid, reconfigured so many different times, right? But it was just so simple and so profound that changed everything. Because like, that's so right. If you continue the patterns that you're on and you never change them, how can it ever get better? Right? Like, something that's just so deep. Right? Like like I said, I was on all these downward trajectories, right? Um, and it really sucks to say too, because on the surface, like people didn't understand on the surface, right? On the surface, you know, and this is not me gloating or anything, but like I was a good athlete. I was, all state in track. I wasn't all state in football in Virginia, but I was in a different state. And anyway, no, that doesn't really matter. But what I was saying is, like, on the surface, I had some of the success that some people wanted. I got a football scholarship. I, you know, I don't know if I should say that, but I had some of these things that people would look at me and be like, "Oh, you have everything." And a lot of the time, it's like, "Oh, like you're light skinned, like you're good looking, like you're jacked, like you." Um, Again, I don't want to sound like I'm like gloating on myself, but it was like on the surface, there was a lot of things going for me, um, but under all of that, it was just this horrible depression, right? This chronic anxiety, right? Like it was so bad that like I wouldn't leave the house, right? Like if we were going out to dinner, not dinner, but like say we're going to like Chipotle for dinner, and like I would get into fights with my mom because I would not go inside. I was so horribly, but I just did not want to see somebody else. I didn't want to have a conversation with somebody else. Um, and I just hated it. Um, you know, and again, a lot of people don't really realize too. Like, um, again, everybody thinks it is a big deal. Like um, I had, college coaches come in and like college coaches come in and pull you out of class, and like a lot of people are like, oh, like, you know what I mean, like big deal kind of vibe, like, oh, like it was clear that I was getting recruited from early on, but you don't really realize that they're making you do weird shit, like not that weird, but like like they look at like the musculature of your body, right? Like pull up your pant leg and like examine the musculature of your you know what I mean, of your like quads and stuff like that. Things that like kind of make sense, but it just makes you feel like a piece of meat, right? Like again, it's more of like, it's not really about how you are as a person. And things could have changed since I been in that position, because um, the NIL deals have all spiraled out of control after I left. We didn't get any of that, unfortunately. Um, but yeah, like on the surface, it looks great until you realize that like shit ain't great. like, uh, right? Like it it was really funny to me, and like in my fraternity, uh, again, because everybody projects this image, or like they take this surface level image of me, again, don't really realize that like I had a complete lack of social skills. Not that I was bad, it was just I was battling so many other things, mentally, internally, that like um, I couldn't be authentic. I didn't know how. I didn't know it was a thing. I didn't even know I wasn't being authentic. Uh, right? Like there's been so many things that like have dulled my brain, and I owe a lot to my ex-girlfriend, because like I would have never really figured it out if some of this shit didn't go wrong. Because past relationships, I would, for a long time, I picked relationships with bad compatible matches, I will say, right? Like everybody has their own shit that they're working on, and working through, and their things that they were working through conflicted with a lot of things that I was working through, and a lot of the times is you don't really know. That's the problem, and that's the thing about growing up and getting wise, right? You can't get wise if you don't go through the shit. And yeah, so again, if you can help somebody and the story helps one person, how's it not worth it?